Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Fox, and today I wanted to show you my updated healer build and how I feel it is best run in both heroic and legendary content. This isn't a PvP version, as you would always want to run the backpack for that, but for PvE this build actually works really well. And like a lot of my support builds, I don't just want to be the guy there that throws down two healing skills and then twiddles my thumbs for the next half an hour. I want to be actively involved in the fight, buffing everybody's damage, buffing my own damage, having at least some weapon damage and some way to improve what my teammates do instead of just giving them more armor. As a lot of the time, if they are sat in cover, they might not even be, they might not require a heal that often. And with just one healing skill, which this build utilizes, and a very flexible secondary skill, you really don't need more than that. I'll go through how much healing this build does with just the one skill and how you can buff it in two separate ways shortly. But yeah, what we'll do is go through the build in the usual fashion to start with. I'll explain all the pieces that I've gone for and why I've put them together the way that I have, and we'll then quickly test the capability of the chem launcher, and then finally what we'll do is load into a legendary summit match made game mode so that we can see how this build performs. Now, if you're not currently subscribed to the channel, please don't forget to at least like the video and subscribe if you do like the content. I mostly cover the Division 2 with build videos for PvP and PvE. Don't also forget to join our Discord, which is now fully up and running. The link will be in the description below. You can use that to LFG. Make sure that you select the correct platform when you join in the rules section, as the it will essentially tell you to do, and that way you'll only have the platforms visible to you that you are actually part of. So for example, if you're a PlayStation only user, you can just select PlayStation and then that's all you will see. So let's get started with the build. We are running Technician for a few different reasons. We are using the Artificer Hive for the most part, as generally speaking these days everybody runs skill builds and legendaries. This is the more obvious secondary skill. We gain additional damage to mechanical items, and as a healer it's basically your job to shoot out the reclaimer stations from the White Tusk, and sort of other mechanical items from heroic based enemies, just so your teammates can do their damage to things that are more important. Gives us the +1 skill tier, which means we're able to run a +1 red on this build, and it even gives us 10% skill healing if you choose that over the 10% skill damage. I personally haven't swapped to that yet, but because this build heals enough and I don't want to keep switching it back and forth all the time, but that is an option that is available to you if you choose to do so. The weapon that we are using, which is one of the main changes of this build, is the capacitor. Yes, this is designed to enhance your skill damage, as 40 stacks will give you 60% skill damage. You can change the Artificer to a different skill if you want, such as, well, anything, a turret or whatnot, but you may want to consider changing the exotic on the build, the BTSU. We'll come to why we've chosen that shortly though. But more importantly, this just gives us 45% additional weapon damage for having a skill tier 6 build, which we do with the 5 yellows on the build and the additional one from Technician. So this is just there to do extra weapon damage. This isn't just a healing build. We can actually output quite a lot of weapon damage there, and this weapon is the best thing for that. I don't even use the other two here, so put on whatever it is that you prefer. I literally don't swap to them for any reason whatsoever. We do gain an EMP grenade, which is very powerful against enemy warhounds and tanks, so we do more damage with the EMP grenade and with our capacitor because of Technician. And then we are of course running 4-piece Future Initiative. Now, to get this exact build you will need to have completed the raid to get the blueprint and or chest from that raid, as you only get the like the old raid exclusives, you don't get the chest and backpack outside of the raid. If you don't have the chest, don't worry about it, just run a second Alps or a Murakami, as duration is important on this build, and then have on there Empathic Resolve, and then you have to lose the BTSU, so you would potentially need to change it, but you can still keep the skills the same. Each of my pieces is rolled to skill tier and repair skills, as you can see here, and for my mods I've decided to go for 1 skill duration and 2 skill haste. No, I decided not to go with the repair skills, and you'll see why that is shortly. You really don't need it on this build. See, the mass you can see is skill tier repair skills. Same here. This is rolled to red, but it still has repair skills, so just craft or farm for whichever one of these 4 pieces that you want, and if they come with repair skills then you can just roll it to red. If you prefer blue for the survivability, do it, but it's not a necessity for this build. I'd rather just get the extra weapon damage. And then of course this is rolled in the same way. We are using BTSU, as this gives us a 90% skill haste on our hive. It's 15% per skill tier, so it's 90% in total, which is obviously insane. And then if we detonate our hive, it will overcharge ourselves and our teammates and reset everybody's cooldowns, which is very powerful. So for the skill haste alone, I like this. The 2 skills that I use on this build are the Booster Hive for weapon-based teams, because that's fantastic at skill tier 6, and then the Artificer Hive for skill-based teams, which is a lot more likely. So either way, BTSU is great here. It even comes with skill haste and repair skills built in, which is absolutely fantastic. And that overcharge drastically improves what this chem launcher can do, which we'll come to in just a moment. I'm going to show you that in the firing range. The final piece that I have is a single piece of Alp Summit for the 20% repair skills. Once again, this is rolled to repair skills with skill haste on there, and then we're actually using the overclock talent. I find that with this build, particularly if you do want to support your team more than just healing them, which is to input damage, you won't be at full health a lot of the time. It's easy to top yourself off, of course, but ultimately Safeguard for me, and I even said this when I first introduced this build way back when it came out, I don't think Safeguard is best in slot. I really don't. I do believe that Overclock offers more to your team, as it buffs not only their reload speed drastically. This is really good if you're running with a Pestilence user, actually, but also for M1A users and just any other weapon, really. I mean, it's a 25% reload speed reduction is a DPS increase, so it's always a good thing. But maybe more importantly, it actually reduces all of their active cooldowns by 0.2 seconds each second, so basically just a 20% flat cooldown reduction. That's great for their res hives if you don't have an overcharge to reset them. It's great for their seekers. Anybody that sits near your hive, which you need to be telling your team to do so, is going to have that huge buff from Overclock, and that pairs very nicely with the additional buffs that the Booster and Artificer offer them anyway. So a substantial amount of buffs depending on how you run this build. You can see based on the build that I have with the 5 yellows and the 1 blue that my weapon damage is 128.8k per bullet, which is pretty fantastic considering we have nothing else on here. We don't have any crit chance or crit damage, but you'd never be able to get that on a healer build anywhere, at least not very easily, so that's absolutely fine. We are using the Reinforcer Chem Launcher, which as you can see has 2 parts to its repair. If you look on the right hand side there where it says stats, and you go to the 5th line of text down, it says ally repair, and this is 1.244 million. That's an initial burst heal. You then see the repair over time, which is buffed by skill duration, such as Murakami. The current cooldown or duration is 8 seconds, and each second of that 8 seconds it will heal them by a further 249k. So that's the PvE stats just there. That is more than enough to heal even a tank that's pushing forward to deal with the computers in Legendary Summit. It's absolutely plenty of healing, and that can be buffed by 2 ways. 1 with the Artificer, which offers a flat 40% buff to all your healing, and 2 by overcharging, which buffs it even further. So yeah, lots of healing on the build. The Artificer is fantastic because it also gives a 70% skill damage buff and a 40% skill repair buff. It repairs all skills by nearly double their base health, so that's obviously overkill, but that is buffed by the repair skills on the build. So any skill that is buffed by Artificer will instantly go back up to full, and it even refreshes their duration as well. So the extended duration of your teammates' skills in conjunction with the skill, the skill cooldown reduction from Overwatch means that the uptime of your teammates' skills are going to be better than ever before, and the damage will be super high as well, as of course the Artificer does drastically buff those. The 4-piece initiative gives us some very powerful bonuses as well. We gain 30% repair skills at the 2-piece, we gain 15% skill haste and 30% skill duration, which buffs both of our skills. That's a fantastic option there. Skill duration is very good for this build. And then ground control gives us and our allies a total of 15% additional skill and weapon damage when we're at full armor. So that's individual. If you're not at full armor but they get the buff and you don't. And of course as well with this, if we repair an ally, any other ally that is within 5 meters of us gets 60% of that repair amount. So you want to stay grouped up with your team for this. The chest piece does increase the bonus, the weapon and skill damage by 15% to 25%. This is even stronger now since the launch of Capacitor, and I think a lot of people have maybe not considered this, but as Capacitor drastically buffs skill damage and weapon damage, and this does the same, there's some great synergy with, particularly with the chest piece from Future Initiative, but just with the ground control talent in general. So lots of damage buffing, healing, cooldown reduction and reload buffing here, so it kind of does everything for me, and we've got a reasonable amount of weapon damage as well. What I'm now going to do is load into the firing range so I can show you exactly how the healing side of it works, and then I'm going to find a Legendary Summit match made into so that I can demonstrate just how well this build performs and why you really do not need to run 2 healing skills. Okay then, so to demonstrate just how effective the single healing skill is, in this case the Reinforcer, as you probably remember from just a few moments ago, the ally repair is 1.244 million, that's the initial burst, then we have the 8-second duration with the repair over time being at 248k. So quite simply, when you fire it down, you'll get that big burst, and then anybody that sits in here afterwards for the next 8 seconds will get 250k of their health back, which is obviously plenty. My health is only, or armor should I say, is only at 730k, so it's more than enough for an entire team and then some. Now you may notice that I have the Artificer buff just here. That is because whenever you put a chem launcher in your hand, whether the Artificer is deployed or not, it actually buffs it. So if we now look at the stats, you'll see that the 1.244 has gone up to 1.628, which is insane. It's way higher. And then the repair over time has gone from 249k to 325. So a massive, massive improvement. You'll also notice that we now have 2 additional buffs. If you look underneath my armor bar there, I know it's a bit hard to see, you'll see that we have the overclock buff, and that orange symbol, it tells us that we are immune to shock and disrupt, another feature of the technician class. So just being next to this, and then we put that back in my hand again, you see we're going to get that buff. What we'll now do is have a look at what the buff is by overcharging. So what this will do is drastically improve the healing and the radius and duration. So let's just quickly whoops, it's at my feet. Quickly overcharge that. Actually, I'm just going to get one more buff from it so that we can look at the stats afterwards. There it is. So we're going to quickly break that down for the overcharge. I think this displays in your stats 1.7 and 347k, so a nice buff there. But look at the radius and the duration of this now. This thing is huge. It's massive, and this will last for an insane amount of time. So that will there heal everybody by 1.6 to 1.7 million just from having the Artificer about. I mean, this thing is still going, you know, like 2 or 3 sentences later, this thing is still on the floor. So, and you'll get that overcharge every 2 seconds. Trust me when I say that just one skill, particularly the chem launcher, is more than sufficient for healing, even in legendary content. And to prove that, what I'm now going to do is load into a legendary summit and show you all. So we have loaded into a legendary summit, just a random matchmaking group. This is floor 14. Let's see how we get on. And one thing I have noticed is we do have a tank player here with a shield, and don't forget that with repair skills that buffs how much the Artificer heals, so it will heal his shield to max every single time. Oh wow, that was a lot of damage. Let's drop that there. Woohoo! This guy's being buffed as well because he's running an oxidizer, which means I'll enhance the damage of that by 70%. Just get this here, that will the cam launcher will heal his shield, but so will the Artificer as well. So what we can now do, we've got a few heals off, is just start shooting stuff. You've got your EMP grenades for tanks. They work quite well against the heavies, as well as it stops their bleed backpack on legendary from affecting you, and that lasts longer than an EMP jammer. And this is pretty much it. I'm going to have skills. I'll have a skill there, so I'm going to try and push this a bit further forward to help him out a little bit more. So watch his shield take damage, and then when that Artificer runs out, okay, he's not actually taking any damage. What that will essentially do is increase his shield quite drastically. So you see that go straight back up to full there? I'm going to give him a quick heal anyway to help him out. Oh, neglected these guys behind me. So really, I'm too far forward here. What I should be is a bit further back so that I can see these guys a bit easier. So he's straight up to full, and watch that just top him off. What I'm now going to do is overcharge to get the even larger heal. So I can now throw this here, and that's going to last for 16 seconds. It's twice the duration when you're overcharged, as you can see on the right hand side there, with a 1.7 million heal. So yeah, these guys are not going to die whilst we're overcharged. Throw this down again. An EMP grenade on this guy. Heal on him. And because that lasts for 8 seconds when we're not overcharged, I can just throw that there. Say he was hacking a computer, for example, and in that radius, I would just throw one there preemptively for him. Sort of pushing forward here, so leave this here. Oh no, this is a terrible place to be. Ah! Okay, I'm definitely going to fall back. I didn't realise there's someone out that door. See all that healing there over time with the extra damage from the capacitor. So do the same thing here, just drop this at my feet. Focus this guy. Nice and easy. Give him a quick heal. So yeah, even with terrible positioning, which is one of my you know, frequent mistakes, we can still get away with it just for all of the extra buffs and healing that we're providing to ourselves and our team. And if we're near somebody with this green line connecting us, whatever we heal to other people will be passed on to them as well. I'm going to throw that over there for him. And again, grab the hive. And we're done. We'll do another floor just to demonstrate it as well, but yeah, even in a hectic floor like that, you can see that it still keeps everybody alive, and I'm able to do my own weapon damage and, you know, more importantly, buff all of their skills drastically so with that 70% Artificer buff. Coming into this next one, looks like we already had quite a few people just here, so let's start chopping those down. Another heal. And then because he just shoot my teammates in the back of the head apparently. So if that guy would have been in range of my hive there, which he wasn't, he would have that shield would have been instantly replenished and he wouldn't have lost it there. It's just because it doesn't go through doorways for some reason. So to help him out with that, I'm actually going to throw this just outside. Oh wow, that guy took some damage there. I'll leave that on the floor for him. So his shield will be keeping him alive there. Ow! Agent down. Ooh, okay, I guess I was still being targeted there whilst I tried to get that heal off. Should have just fired it at the floor as opposed to standing still and dropping it. This is how we learn, I guess. What I'm now going to do actually is overcharge here, so I can get that big heal off again. There we go. And this is just going to keep everybody super topped off now. Now I can focus on damage. The hive back down. Now we've got some charges back, which of course with the BTSU, again the 90% skill haste. Ooh, straight back up to full health. See him get healed off. Look at that healing. Beautiful. Yeah, honestly, I really don't think the hive is needed. The second healing skill, so the Restorer hive. Grab our skills here if I can. Thank you. This guy's shield, a quick heal. Oh, he's taking some damage there. Straight back up to full, just like that. And this is without safeguard, I might add. Okay, we're now going to use the Artificer to buff all of the skills in this radius, as this actually does buff them when they're yours, of course. We're going to put that right in the middle. We're going to fight here now. Before I left my guys to fend for themselves, that was not a smart move. Go, that's him healed off. Should now heal this guy as well. Yep, because I'm stood next to him. So you see there I was healing this guy and his shield, but healing this guy because I was stood next to him. And now what my Artificer is doing is buffing all of the skills in this radius. So any of the deployed skills are now being buffed. This one here, for example. Which is pretty awesome. We're back ready for an overcharge again, so we'll do that in just a second. There it is. So now we've got that big heal down, we can afford to get some charges back. Place this down again in just a second, as soon as we get full charges. That'll do. Put it right on top. And anything that sits here will be buffed. Oh, I missed him. That's pretty stupid. Okay. And I've got a nice low cooldown on this as well, so if I do run out of charges, I can overcharge to get them back. I can just wait a couple of seconds. I suppose you could class that as the one downside to not having two healing skills, but honestly, it's never cost me before. Particularly if you're in a team with comms, they'll always group together anyway. So that way when you heal the tank that's in front, for example, it will heal everybody that's sat next to you. Obviously, this is random matchmaking, so we don't have that luxury, but... Oh, so my buddy's taking some extra damage over there, but he's being buffed by the Artificer, so his skill should hopefully get him through it. But we'll still give him a quick kill nonetheless. His foam will be buffed by the Artificer as well, so the duration of that will actually be longer. That'll need some healing, right there. Straight back up to full. Just about run out of charges on Artificer, but you see how fast that goes up from the BTSU. And that's it. So I don't think we need to go any further. That's about as much as I wanted to show off, and I wanted to keep the video relatively short. But yeah, honestly, I really do, I know I keep saying this, but I really do believe that the single skill in conjunction with the Artificer or Booster and BTSU works very well. Overclock is fantastic when you're pairing up with a group that you're in comms with, as what you really want to do is have probably one of you that's a bit tankier pushing forward to do the computers and so on that you can heal. The other two people sat next to you with their skills so that you're buffing them with your Artificer, with Overclock, and when you heal your tank, it will naturally heal your teammates next to you, as well as the ground control feature from Future Initiative does pass 60% of that healing on. The Artificer will buff the tank shield to full health every single time it procs, so that's every 5 seconds, and give every skill in the game a 70% skill damage buff and a 40% skill healing buff. So it will buff the healing of my chem launcher, it was buffing the damage of the oxidizer, it buffs the status effects of the riot foam launcher, you know, all of them. It's a really good build. And on top of all of that, we're giving everybody 25% weapon and skill damage, including ourselves, and that works beautifully with this weapon here, the capacitor, that already has at the moment 128k based on us being at full health for Future Initiative. Yeah, it buffs that even further, so it's fantastic. It just works really well, and I really like how this build plays. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments if you feel that I could do this better, if you don't agree with the Artificer, if you feel that I should have a different type of healing or two types. I personally don't think that's true, but you know, I know a lot of people play differently to me and vice versa, so just let me know your thoughts in the comments. And until then, I will see you all in the next video. Peace.